Oh, you look good, by the way.
Thanks, man. I've got my Fashion Wars on point. And
on point. I think my Fashion Wars is on point too right now.
Totally unassisted. Yeah, you look pretty good. You be honest with me, because I'm noticing a thing here. How much of the Boots Bad build prep time is apportioned to the build versus the outfit accompanying the build?
Okay, well, here's a little insight yet down into the annals of how I make Boots Bad builds.
Okay.
So first, I come up with the build on paper. Then I find out that it doesn't work at all. Then I change the build. Then I change it, and I change it, and I change it again.
Oh no,
and
this
then
sounds
I scrap
too
it.
exhaustive. This makes you sound, really, really hard working now.
I know. And then I scrap it, come up with a new one, and it's stupid enough to work. So then I get the gear,
Alright.
which actually takes quite a long time,
Okay.
because I have no money to start off with.
Yep.
So sometimes
Donations
I
to World of
convert
Enders,
gems.
if you please.
Sometimes I convert gems to gold. I mean, yeah, gems to gold. And sometimes I just sell off all of my collected inventory, and then I buy exotic armor to make the builds. And then using that armor, I make myself look really good. That takes about 6 days.
6 days. Okay.
Yeah. So 90% of the build making process. And then we're good to go.
All right, well, it really shows, dude. It gives them a nice, good opening. So we're on Rev today. We haven't done a Rev, well, a Renegade one, right? And I noticed that you are Elite Specialized on Renegade. So are we going to be seeing this new Elite Specialization for the first time?
Yeah, so I think you kind of teased it in the last video, but you probably know exactly what's going on in this one.
Okay, yes. Now, I have to admit, when I did my original series on all of the Elite Specializations, I did immediately think of a certain rune set when I saw this Elite for the first time.
Oh.
So
What rune set were you thinking
I'm thinking the return.
Did you think of me?
I did, and I even said, if you go look at that video when I'm playing Renegade, I do actually say smugly and sneeringly and condescendingly, I'm sure that Boots will invent a Mad King rune synergy here. Are you technically inventing the synergy? You're discovering the synergy. So yeah. Mad King runes is what I was thinking.
But I would have to venture a guess and say I'm not also the first to discover the synergy. This is definitely pretty plain sight kind of dealio. And it's just, the problem is Renegade seems like it was meant for me.
Okay.
Like, as a whole, as a class, profession, elite spec, I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. But there's just certain aspects of it that just, it seems like it was meant for me because it was meant for Mad King runes.
Well, so do you want to mouse over the Elite and talk about exactly what it does so we understand the synergy with the rune as well? And we'll spiral for that.
So the Elite is Soul Cleave's Summit.
Oh yeah, it's Soul Cleaves. I always call that Soul Cleavers.
Yeah, me too, but it's not. Her name is Ophela Soul Cleave.
So it looks like this.
So she looks like this. You see this big AoE? This AoE, if you're standing in it, you get this little buff here that says your outgrowing strikes deal additional damage and restore your health. Now, it used to be better in the beta.
Okay.
It used to be twice as much damage, so that was a little bit crazy. But right now, it's
I
not
remember
so
seeing
bad.
that at like 700 in the PvP lobby.
Yeah, it was insane. But it's still not so bad. It's around 400 life siphon damage and around 450 healing. 400 healing. I think that's base for both of them because I on this current version of the build I don't have any power.
Okay.
And I think it doesn't scale great off of it. I think with a lot of power it could go up to maybe 500. So I don't know.
As ever, life siphon stuff scales horrendously.
Yeah, exactly. But what this means is, and what's very important about it, is that there is no internal cooldown on the Soul Cleave Summit.
I'm really excited to see how this can be pushed. Like, really. I think this is such an exciting... Because what I like the idea of are players being able to coordinate their own bursts and things, right? And the fact this has no ICD, what that means, guys, is as long as you do enough, like, multi-packet attacks and do enough separate damage numbers, doesn't matter how much those actual numbers hit, it will proc this again and again and again for as long as the
and again and again and again and again and again
so,
and again and
like,
again.
the idea that you could coordinate a Soul Cleaver's Summit with a ton of multi-packet attacks on 5 of your allies in the area.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool.
It's juicy, and for this reason, it made me think, and I think that it still holds true. I think Renegade as an elite spec was meant for group content in PvE, because that Soul Cleaver Summit is just like a huge boost to your DPS for your group if they're doing a lot of attacks, and it has a lot of like AOE buffy kind of stuff. But you know, that doesn't mean it's not bad for you by yourself.
And why is that, Boots? How can you get lots of allies when you have your elite up? That's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're going with that.
Because it says specifically here that Lieutenant Soulcleave can only empower players.
Mm-hmm. So that's good, because you do have these other spirits that you could summon, right?
Right.
And it says that because it doesn't want you to empower those guys, and it also doesn't want you to empower things like minions or whatever. Renegades don't have access to minions like that. They just have these little guys.
So will this not actually trigger on like a flesh golem? Have you verified that?
I have not verified that, but I assume that that's what it means, because when it says it will not empower allies.
Okay.
It will not empower... Can only empower players.
Yeah.
So I didn't try it because I just took it at its word.
Essentially, this text is wrong, though, right?
In what way?
Well, the entire point of your build would suggest that this is wrong, wouldn't it?
No, not entirely. It's correct.
Oh, is it?
It can't... Yeah, it can only empower players, but there are certain things about your spells and things that count as you hitting. So, like, you know, there's this Ice Razor's Ire guy. He's a spell. He's a summon. So you'd think that with the Soul Cleaver Summit, not empowering players, only empowering players, it wouldn't really matter. So this guy does 20 hits with his little attack there.
Yeah. Do you want to show that on those destroyers as well for people? So this is a good example immediately. What you want for this elite is multi-packet damage, and Renegade has one built in on one of its spirits.
Yeah, built in. It's 25 energy, so it's not cheap. But it does 20 hits and inflicts vulnerability and cripple. And so yeah, just cast on these guys, and boom, boom, lots and lots of hits, right? Pretty good. This also does, you have another guy who gives stability and dazes people, but it basically also does 6 hits to 5 people in an area. Okay. So that's also a lot of hits. Now you're thinking, okay, Soul Cleaver Summit doesn't empower these guys because it only empowers players. But you're right, that's true. However, it empowers you, and these guys, these spirits hits actually count as your attacks.
What?
Yep.
Wait. That means that this is actually obscene with minions. Does that work with all kinds of minions, though?
I think minions don't count, and you don't have minions as a.
No, but you can get no. But what I'm basically saying.
Oh, are you saying like summon attacks, like those environmental items?
No, what I'm saying is if you've got a minion monster with you who has 10 minions up, and you pop this elite. The elite won't proc on the minions, but it will proc on the Necro, and the Necro is seeing the numbers from their minions, so it buffs them anyway.
I want to say no. It does not appear to be
Burning, bone / fiend leech, burning.
No.
/ fiend leech. Yeah, it's not working. Okay.
So there you go. So as you can see, minions don't work.
Okay.
But spirits do, because they count as your attacks.
Okay. All right. That's weird, but all right. So that.
But awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
So that means, well, first of all, the main problem with Soul Cleaver Summit is that you have quite a large degeneration from it. Like you could only have it up for like 10, 12 seconds or something from your 50% health, from your 50% energy. So then you have to switch, get your energy back, switch again, get your energy back, and use it off cooldown.
I'm really excited to see if you're running that new invocation trait we talked about in that other video.
That's it, though. That's it. Okay, so I want to run that, but the version of the build I have wouldn't get full benefit out of it, but you can run it. You can run it.
Okay, so we'll get to that soon. Let's just take it back to the Mad King thing. All right, so we've talked about the spirit, and we know how that works. Why is this cool with Mad King runes? Do you want to, for anyone new to the series, what are Mad King runes?
how if you've ever watched any video in the series, you have come across Mad King runes before, because I use it in, I think, every third video.
Something like that, yeah.
So Mad King runes, hold on, I'm going to get my thing all set up. Mad King runes say blah blah blah, condition duration, bleeding duration, power damage, and summon ravens to attack nearby enemies when you activate an elite skill. So that hits 3 nearby enemies, and I think it's 14 or 16 hits
each
per target.
All right.
Each. And so that means...
So let's say you summon 3 ravens. Each raven does 14 packets. That's 42 packets of damage.
Yeah. So look, I'm quite low health now because this guy's been attacking me for fun.
Yeah.
So I summon my guy, and just from the ravens, for some reason the destroyer harpy was evading at the time.
Oh, that's such a shame. Oh, the ruination. But I saw your health going up as well. That's always such a cool thing about these lifesteal builds, that you think about the damage side, but there's obviously the...
You think about the damage side, but honestly, the main amazing thing about Soul Cleaver's Summit for me is how much you can heal from it so quickly. Like if you just have 3 targets with you that actually get hit by those birds, at 16 hits each, or let's say it's 14 because I think that might be what it is. 42 hits times 450 health.
Right.
It's insane. That's like a full heal right there.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So all that is to say that the point of this build is to do as many hits as possible and benefit from the fact that you're doing so many hits.
Okay, I see. Through the elite. So, and that's cool because this elite is like, it's a bit like Mirage, right? And we saw with this balance patch, they fixed a bug and all of a sudden people are using Infinite Horizons. It's really fun because it means people are using Dodge Food and people are using Sigils of Energy and stuff because it's an extreme idea. So I like the idea of this being very similar in that it gets you to think about multi-packet attacks that nowhere else in Buildcraft, really, in Guild Wars 2 has encouraged us. Has it? I can't think of any place.
I think there's a few times it has, but no, this definitely pushes that idea further.
So this should lead you to doing a lot of weird stuff now, right?
Yes, and actually, since it applies to 5 targets, it really, just getting this out there right now, it really makes me want to run around in World vs. World or something with 4 other people who are very, very good at doing lots of hits, like Flamethrower NG, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And so I really want to do that, and I especially want one of them to be another one of these Renegades. Because of the generation here, you only have basically maybe 50% uptime of Soul Cleaver Summit.
So they cover the other half.
Exactly. If you coordinate with your second Renegade, you have 100% uptime.
Wow. Think about the sustain and just the defense bypass that everyone's getting from all that life reap. That's cool.
Exactly. So, okay, let's go over the traits, I guess.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to go over the equipment just yet. I'm going to post build links under the description. Basically, this version of it is a Condi version, so I don't have any power to it, but I have enough precision. I'll tell you why in a second. I have enough precision to get nearly 100% crit chance.
Yeah.
And with a sigil of accuracy, I want to say, no, perception. In PvE, you'll get perception stacking on you when you kill foes. You get to 100% without any fury.
Okay.
And there is a reason for that. This is the way this build is working. There's going to be other versions.
I'm guessing this is because one of these builds is Invocation, the others not. Or...
Exactly.
Can we just start, before you go traits though, can I just hear what your weapons are and your legends are? So you obviously got Carla. I'm guessing the other one might be Jarlis, but I'll let you...
Yeah. So my weapons are mace. For the Condi version is mace, axe, and short bow. Okay. And yes, Jarlis is currently my other legend.
And why is that?
Because well, you'll see in a second.
Oh, okay.
You'll see in a second. But the other thing you could use instead of Jarlis is I have been running Shiro in like very low grade PvP.
Oh, right, okay. Alright.
And this build is actually kind of fun to burst people down and do a lot of damage and also heal you and your friends in PvP. But obviously it's not great because these spirits are easily CCable by people and they lose their abilities from that. So it's not... Renegade isn't a great PvP elite spec, but you could use it as long as you're not doing high level stuff.
Alright, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah. It is fun. I do like it. I do enjoy using it, especially with the Shiro. Okay, so let's go traits. All the disclaimers have been said already.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so the reason why I think that this Renegade was made for Mad King runes is this series of traits. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. What line?
Adept. Oh, first we're going to do Renegade.
Okay.
Line Renegade.
Yep.
Adept, Blood Fury.
Okay. Fury increases the duration of all the bleeds we inflict, and gaining Fury will also give us Carla's Fervor.
So bleeding duration increased by 25%.
So this is the Fury version, sorry.
This is the Fury version. Okay. The problem is all of these Adept traits I don't enjoy very much.
Yeah, we talked about this off camera a while ago, right?
Yeah, Callous Fervor, getting Callous Fervor every 3 seconds is like, congratulations, who cares?
Yeah.
It's the secondary benefits that are kind of cool. This major minor trait, unfortunately, Endless Enmity, that gives you Fury when you're at 50%, when you hit something below 50% health.
Oh, yeah?
Unfortunately, it makes me really sad, because it's the one trait that makes me realize that my build gear isn't optimized.
Right.
Because it's useless Fury.
If you've gone over, yeah.
If you've gone over. But unfortunately, it only, like, I can't build really far into it because you have to hit something below 50 health for it to trigger to begin with. So you're at 80% crit chance before that anyway. So that's why I don't really want to talk too much about the gear, because it's really up to you the way you want to run your gear with this build. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then we got Heart Piercer as the major.
Right.
Your short bow skills now pierce, bleeding you inflict deals more damage. Now the great thing about piercing skills, it means it hits many more targets, right?
Right, so you've just upped the theoretical cap of, well, so what's the short bow skill with the most projectiles? What's this one? 7 shot.
That would be 7 shot, yeah.
Jesus Christ. So 7
times 5
times what? Because it can cleave,
5.
right?
It can cleave.
Yeah, so for 7 times 5 and then what?
That's it, 7 times 5.
Oh, it's just that then. Okay, well that could be 35 packets of damage. 35 sources of heal. 35 life steals.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's this Bloodbane path, which targets 3 things and hits 3 times each.
Can they all
pierces
cleave?
2. And they pierce as well, so that's also a ridiculous amount of hits.
Okay.
And Spirit Crush pulses a few times, but that doesn't matter if it pierces or not.
You suggested to me that there might be some kind of short bow bug that's beneficial. Before so the auto attack scatter shot on short bow is very weird. Oh yeah, because this hits and then it's like a mini cluster bomb every time, isn't it? It's like
it's supposed to be, yeah. So release an arrow that shatters upon striking, inflicting bleeding on nearby foes.
And it pierces on its way to those foes.
Yeah. So the weirdest thing about it is, I don't know, are you currently wielding your short bow?
Yeah.
And you're piercing?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna put down 7 shot, the soul cleave, and attack somebody with your auto attack and tell me what you see.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I hit the Crabling with Soul Cleave Summit. Is it double procking? Yeah, it's double procking. So every one short bow auto triggers the elite twice. What?
Yeah.
How is this
because
a thing?
It shatters on impact, I assume, so it does a second hit.
Oh.
And not only that, okay, so, but the problem is, you'd think that, so when it shatters on impact, it bleeds nearby foes. So it's a radius of 120. The thing I've been really trying to test, and I haven't been able to get it set up perfectly to test it properly, is if it pierces and shatters each time it pierces, I think it might only shatter once, because you think that if there's 2 things within 120 of each other, and it pierces and shatters each time it pierces, it should do 2 bleeds on each.
Basically,
right?
you got to think of this as like the old Phoenix, placement kind of thing. Like you want the travel through.
I want exactly kind of like a mix between the Guardian Virtues permeating Wrath and the old Phoenix.
Right.
But I don't know if it works because I've never actually seen it hit 2 bleedings at the same time. So I assume that it only shatters once, even though it pierces.
Man, that is wild. That's a very interesting little interaction on every auto. Jeez.
So now we go to the brutal momentum, which is super powerful.
So when we're at full endurance, we increase our chance to crit by a whopping 33%. Yeah, and also, whenever we get Fury, we get Vigor as well, which, remember, procs at the very least with Endless Enmity from earlier and other sources.
Mm-hmm. And so 33% crit chance just by standing still. It's just crazy. I mean, that's how you get 100% crit chance easy.
Yeah.
Vindication, gaining Callous Fervor is the Grandmaster, and it increases the number of missiles on your Citadel Bombardment.
Right. So
it
Citadel
grants you
Bombardment
might.
is lots of strikes. Okay, if you've got lots of Callous Fervor, how many strikes is it?
If you have, without this trait, it's 10. With this trait, it's 15.
And each one that lands can hit
Is an
3.
AoE.
So
Yeah.
if we keep going with our unrealistic maxes, it's 3 times 15, right?
3 times 15, correct.
3
yeah.
times 15. So this is a potential 45 procs of a thing. Now, that's all very exciting, Boots. But here's my question to you. In play, how challenging, energy-wise, is it to get the Elite Rolling and the Citadel Bombardment together? Because
That's it.
it's all
So
very
if you
pricey.
get your Elite rolling, if at 50% energy, you cast your Elite and then cast your Citadel Bombardment, your Elite will only last as long as your Citadel Bombardment does.
Right.
So you won't use your 7-shot and stuff at the same time. It's a 15-second cooldown for the Citadel Bombardment, so if you're swapping between your 2 legends every 10 seconds, you will have it back up, I think, for your next use of Soulcleave Summit.
Can you
know,
show people and me what it looks like to summon the thing and use the bombardment?
Okay,
So
well, there's
basically,
only one guy
you
here,
can't use
unfortunately.
if this is the technique you use, you can't use other skills because it will run the elite out quicker, right?
Yeah, you'll just auto attack, which is okay because your auto attack is, I mean, there you go. But just real quickly about Vindication, besides giving more ordinances to the Citadel Bombardment, it also, even though it's only 3.5 seconds, the might that it gives per stack of Callous Fervor you get, Callous Fervor, besides the minor trait, the adept trait that gives you it once every 3 seconds,
Yep.
the way you get Callous Fervor is by, number 1,
Ambush.
attacking from behind or to the side, and number 2, doing critical hits. So when you are attacking from behind and to the side and doing critical hits, you get 2 stacks of Callous Fervor per hit.
Yep.
But besides that, having 100% critical hit chance means every single one of your ridiculous amount of hits gives you a stack of might.
Can I ask
and a
as
stack of
well,
Callous Fervor.
does Soulcleave Summit do impacts from that count as hits for Ambush Commander? Thus meaning that the extra packets from your elites bring you Ambush Commander.
Well, it has to be a critical hit, right?
No. Or just attacking people
from
behind or the side.
I don't think so. I think that all, just to nip it in the bud, I'm 90% sure that all lifesteal things don't count as hits.
Okay, I see. All right, that makes sense.
So just to show you a little bit of the might stacking, just summon this guy, do one of these things, and yeah, you're like at 25 all the time.
Very
basically.
quick. That's nice. Any build with 25 might and fury is a solid, fun thing at the very least to run around in open world. Let me tell you that much.
Exactly. So let's go to the other trait lines. So I'm going Corruption to begin with.
Okay.
Because this is the conditioned version, and the reason that the main reason you go Corruption is because of the Adept Minor. Critical hits have a chance to cause torment.
So the very start. Okay.
Yeah, 33% chance. Every 1/3 of your hits.
Because you have a
6 seconds of
100%
torment.
crit chance, that just translates into 1/3. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And when you get torment, you also get some poison, and poison duration is increased.
Okay.
With the Venom enhancement. Then, on top of that, at nighttime, I like to run Abyssal Chill.
Of course. Nice little bit of the werewolf build. You guys can check that out in the playlist.
Yeah, you eat your Ghost Pepper Poppers, and you have a 40% chance on critical hit during the night to inflict chill on a 1-second internal cooldown, I believe. So, and that does an additional 2 stacks of Torment, which is a lot of damage.
I will add to people that synergy is extremely fun in low-level dungeons. And you should totally go play it. I actually captured hours upon hours upon hours of soloing and duoing dungeons using that synergy, because a lot of dungeons are permanently in the nighttime. And especially because you get all this extra crit, this would actually be quite fun in places like that.
Yeah.
But downscaling doesn't affect. But yeah.
Exactly. And if it's not nighttime, you'll run Spontaneous Destruction instead, which gives confusion to things and removes their boons.
And nicer in Wellbus as well, probably.
Yeah, nicer in Wellbus World, and you'd obviously run like Koi Cake or something as your food instead.
Okay.
Because you don't need the might. Then the Adept, your Torment is better and lasts longer. And finally, as your elite, I've been running Diabolic Inferno.
Okay, so burn nearby foes whenever we use an elite.
8-second cooldown. So yeah, basically you're using your elite.
That's just fun. I like the flavor of that because now you've just turbocharged your elite. You pop Soul Cleave Summit and it blinds and it burns and it summons all the birds that do all the damage and so on.
Exactly. Now I don't know. Maybe if you're running PvP for whatever reason, and you might want to run Pulsating Pestilence instead to copy conditions from you to nearby foes when you invoke a legend, which you're going to be doing quite often.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then finally, my last line is Devastation.
Okay.
Which is pretty strong for this version of the build. The Adept trait is not very useful, unfortunately. None of them are very good because it's mostly power-based, this kind of thing. But
the Vuln's a nice cover, and Vuln bumps your condition damage, so that's alright.
Oh yeah, the Miner's great.
Yeah.
I was talking about the Adept normal trait. But the Miner's great. 1/3 of every one of your hits, you deal vulnerability. So basically all your guys are going to have up to 25 seconds. Usually very high vulnerability because of this.
Yeah, you're right, though. This next rung is a bit lame.
Next rung is lame.
Totally take Jade Echo because for flavor.
Yeah. The thing is, this trait line overall isn't so great. Like, I take Assassin's Presence to give my party more ferocity. It's always nice as the major trait. But it's the Grandmaster Miner that I've taken it for, really.
Yeah, this is such a good... This is one of my favorite traits in the game.
And it's basically giving you that Necromancer Life Siphon, only better.
Yep.
Twice as good. And it's when they have vulnerability, every hit you do steals life, and you're doing ridiculous amounts of hits, so you're stealing a lot of life.
Sorry, when they have vulnerability, it's behind all the sides.
It's when you strike a foe that has... Oh no, you're talking about the Grandmaster.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about focus siphoning. Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Focus siphoning when they have vulnerability, which they will always have because of your minor trait in the front. You siphon twice as much as your Necromancer health, and that has no internal cooldown, so all of your hits are doing it.
Yep.
And then also Assassin's Annihilation as the Grandmaster. You siphon quite a lot of damage, but it's on a 1-second internal cooldown, and you have to hit from behind or to the side.
Yeah, this is so strong, guys. It's such a nice trait. The sustain you get from Assassin's Annihilation, oh, it's so good.
It's good. It's very good. And it's more likely to be useful when you're on not the short bow, but instead on the mace axe, because axe you could get behind your target, you could just keep on strafing and stuff to stay behind things, and so that is the Condi variant of this build, and it's very strong. I'll have some footage of it doing a lot of damage to things, obviously. So you're summoning your Soul Cleave Summit, doing auto attacks usually with your bow, or your first 3 bow attacks are very strong with Soul Cleave Summit, and they don't take up too much energy. Then you'll be switching to your Dwarf Stance, summoning your hammers going around you, doing your Ordnance, and doing your more damage-intensive things, but casting your Ice Rage Desires before it. You're just doing a ton of hits, and it's getting topped up in health every time. It's very hard to die when you're stealing so much health. It's a fun build. It's a very fun build. Yeah. Now, something came out just the last patch, and I had to think about it before doing this build with you, because it's very interesting.
I think it's an implicit. It's kind of a secret buff to Renegade, in my opinion, because it alleviates energy issues. But that's my suspicion. I don't know just yet.
Yeah, so it makes me want to like drop Devastation entirely for a Condi build, and take up Invocation instead. Okay,
so we're still talking Condi, but the option would be Invocation instead. And what would we run here, Boots?
And instead, you would run Invocation, and the Grandmaster trait is Charge Mists.
Right, and this is the main thing. So invoking a legend while at or below the energy threshold will grant you extra energy on your new legend. So the way this works is if you're basically empty on energy and then you legend swap, and only if you're basically empty on legend energy, instead of going back up to 50, you go all the way up to 75. So with a bit of play, and you do have to pay attention to it, but you get a lot more energy, which lets you do stuff like we mentioned earlier, dropping the Elite and the Citadel Bombardment together.
And your Ice Razor Dire if you want to.
Yeah, or whatever else.
And just casting a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you want to, just have Soul Cleaver Summit up for a longer amount of time for your allies.
Yeah, yeah. So this seems really fun. And you've played with it, or...?
I've played with it, and yeah, it feels really good. You just got to make sure that you swap at the right time, because like if you drop your Soul Cleaver Summit, go down to 0 energy, and when you go down to 0 energy, I'll just start using some abilities to make sure it goes faster. When you drop it, it gets desummoned, and then you start regenerating energy relatively fast.
Yeah.
So you got to remember not to swap after you've regenerated more than 10 energy.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit with it and I always miss that. I'm not very good at it just yet.
Yeah, so you just, I mean, it's pretty easy to do though, to swap once you've hit 0 energy. And it's great. It's great. You get 75 energy back. It's fantastic. The only problem is you miss that extra lifesteal that you get on every hit, and the vulnerability that you would get from Devastation.
And also, you've now got a ton of Fury on here as well. Does that affect your crit chance and stuff?
It does. So then you would have to... Now you would have permanent Fury, essentially. So you would have to change your gear, which is not a bad thing. I'll put a link for this version of the build in the description as well.
Okay.
And a few other things, like their Spirit Boon was added, so when you swap legends, you gain boons based off of the new legend. Kind of interesting. For Shiro, it's not that interesting, it's just 2 might, and since you have so much might anyway, it doesn't really matter. But with the Dwarf stance, it's stability. Stability is always good.
You know, there's another cool synergy. If you run Malix, you can resist procs with the Corruption Grandmaster that you can
Yes,
talk
it
about.
does. Yes,
So
it
that's
does.
pretty
That's
cool
another
as
thing
well.
you could do. Instead of Diabolic Inferno, you could do Maniacal Persistence and run run Malix instead.
And that's a packet of damage, by the way. The Maniacal Pulse is damage.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and there's no reason really not to do this anymore, because since you're losing your Devastation, you don't need all those hammer hits anymore, so you can run Malix instead of the Dwarf.
In fact, I've got something I want to talk about in the why it's bad bit related to all of that.
Okay, all right. So yeah, that's not a bad idea either. But the thing is, Invocation is a bit of a power spec. It's a power line.
Oh, okay.
It's a bit of a power. It's not a crazy power line, but it's a bit of a power line as opposed to a condition line. So the thing is, once this Invocation trait came out, it made me really want to try to make a power version of this without corruption, and instead Devastation and Invocation. With instead of Malix, you use Dwarf stance and the Renegade, and you could make I think you can make a really good power variant of this build.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks good as a power variant as well.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's basically it.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I really hope you get some footage of a group running through with it, especially if you can get the double going. That would be so cool.
I'll try. The video will come out a little bit later.
You know, it's a shame as well, because they used to have a Jarlis trait which gave you that extra hammer, which could have been an interesting without having to upkeep it, which could have been fun to play with on this in a way to get a hammer with the spirit up at the same time, but that doesn't exist anymore. All right, so should we do a why it's bad, or was there something else you wanted to add? Sigils, stuff like that, gear, or do you want to leave that for the build?
I'll leave the gear to the links.
Okay.
Because it's all very variational.
All right.
It changes. Yeah. All right. So tell me, why is this bad? I think I already know.
Okay, well, one thing I was thinking with that I'm surprised you didn't say, and I want to hear why. You know, you've made a Condi build. Why are you so... And let me get the full thought out. Why are you so scared of Demon Stance? Especially considering that Unyielding Anguish is a pulsing field that you could potentially... I haven't tested it. Maybe it's not possible. You could spam a ton of Unyielding Anguishes, swap to Kala, proc your elite, and you would actually get the hammers wouldn't work, but the Unyielding Anguish fields are more rolling AoEs and damage ticks that could work with it. So that,
well, the thing is, it's high energy. It's 30 energy for each Unyielding Anguish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine though. That's to drain. Then you legend swap. You're running the invocation trait. You come in at 75. You drop the elite.
The most you could really cast of Unyielding Anguish, and before swapping back, is like 2, basically.
Yeah.
And they only last 4 seconds. It's only 4 pulses each.
So you don't think it's that impressive?
It's not that impressive.
Okay.
No, not compared to the hammers. The hammers.
Yeah, but the hammers are a moot point though. The hammers are nice when we look at Devastation stuff at the same time, right?
Yes, yes, that's why you would run it with the Devastation. But if you're going Invocation, you're right. Malix is a good idea. Invocation, especially with that on swap, gets you resistance trait.
Yeah, or the other, yeah, and you can do that synergy basically. The other thing that I would say, if we go to that point then, is this is basically just a Condi Renegade. And I know I keep bringing these criticisms up. This is a Condi Renegade with Mad King runes.
Yeah,
that's the build basically. The invocation one. That's how you run this thing, and it's solid and it's really fun, and for all the reasons that we've highlighted here. But it's interesting then that Mad King runes do that. Mad King runes, you lose a bit of efficiency. I'm afraid to say. You know, I like to criticize Mad King runes. The power, if you're running the Condi version, it's not doing anything for you. Unfortunately, that they've given you that. And I've another thing I've wondered about too is how does the Mad King, how good does it feel when you are, say, in Jarlis and you've been CC'd, so you need a stun break, you pop right of the Great Dwarf and it triggers your Mad King runes.
I would never do that.
You would never do that. So that's not a potential. I think that's a downside, unfortunately, for the Mad King runes. I think
but it's not. It's honestly not that bad. Like obviously you wouldn't get your Soul Cleaver Summit buffs from it, but you'd still do the 60%, 60 health steal on each hit, and
yeah, you would
also
still get
do
those
the torment and the vulnerability on each hit, and yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what more point did I have to say. You seemed like you had a really big thing out there.
It's fun. It's a fun build. I mean, it's not so much crazy way out there. It's just a build that I had to make because it was calling for it.
Yeah, and I mean, quite like it. Honestly, when you talk about this, it just reminds me of dungeons, and I think that this would be exactly the kind of thing to be super fun running through those early dungeons on, like, really awesome. Unless the downscaling hits lifesteal based mechanics so hard that they're not really fun anymore.
It feels good too. Like, it feels, instead of being, I don't know, like a normal rev, it feels like you're a commander, and I think that's what it's trying to do. Because, like, you got your orbital from far away, you got your longbow skills you could use from far away, you have your spirit buffs you could use on all your friends and tell them, hey, get in there, do all this. And you're just standing far away,
for the power variant, have you looked at how Sword Offhand works now since the patch? Because that was also a big change, wasn't it?
I have not. What happened with Sword Offhand?
I don't really know. It was a legitimate question. There are 5 strikes on Shackling Wave, though. Slice through the air, sending a wave of energy from the mist towards your foe and dealing rapid strikes. So it's 5 strikes on 3 targets. So if you were to do the power version... and give yourself the thing. I'm not on a power version, but that should work as well.
So that'd be pretty good.
I think there are little optimizations that could be... Well, that was completely outrageous. That's ridiculous. I think there's little optimizations that could be made. If I had any really heavy criticism... to criticize this and say that this is terrible is just to say all the reasons at its core why Renegade just doesn't see a place. I mean, if we want to hone in on a specific area, why is it bad in a raid? Other people are going to be covering your Fury. Other people are going to be covering your Might. You're not putting out enough Lacry to compete with other people. Like, there's all those standard reasons.
Like that's why I didn't want to make a raid version of this build yet. I think that there is a viable raid version of a Renegade out there, and I think it's very possible to make. It's just, you know, you have to get it accepted first. And then
I would love a full team comp. I would just straight up, it's not even a Boots Bad build. It's like a Boots Bad comp, right?
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna do that.
where you use Soul Cleave Summit. And again, it's the same. I'd love an Infinite Horizons Boots Bad comp with warriors using To the Limit and thieves using their signet and stuff to bump as much endurance up as possible. So, you know, it's got all these standard reasons. I think in PvP as well, I respect going Jarless because you get the cleanse on the heal, obviously, at the very least. It does lack resist, though. It does lack, you know, on the Condi front, I think it would get pretty heavily hindered. And it's great that it's got the short bow because I don't see this thing really sustaining very comfortably. Even with all the life still coming in and potentially a lot of targets, I don't see it sustaining that well in the sort of crunching in on someone in melee. Though,
yeah, you don't want to do
the
that.
hammers, lots of hits, the hammers reducing coming damage and Condi damage by 20%. I don't know, it might be fun to see if you had a ton of targets.
It's lovely in PvE, just wading into a fray with your hammers, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Oh, I kind of want to see how it functions in those places.
Just before we go, I want to give several little quick tips.
Okay.
Number one, it doesn't matter where your other spirits are. They obviously you want to put them on the things you want to hit. But your Soul Cleaver Summit, don't put it directly on you, because if people are attacking you or things are attacking you, they'll probably hit your Soul Cleave at the same time, and they'll either die or get CC'd or something. You wanna instead put your Soul Cleaver Summit behind you, but with you still in the area.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I could have said why it's bad, all the reasons why spirits in general are just bad, that this guy can be CC'd, that he could be killed. That you know, and depending on the game type, that's going to be more or less of a problem. But I love what you just said, actually. I think that I don't like that the spirits are so easily gimped, right? But it's kind of cool that there's that play as you just described. I wonder if you could
there's ways to use the spirits to make it not as bad as they are.
I wonder if the way to buff the spirits that's most fun for the game is actually to increase their range. Thus, that play that you just talked about is that pushes them more into like Guild Wars 1 Ranger spirits. But so they're still very vulnerable, but you can keep them more separate from the fights. That might be a really interesting way of dealing with things. But anyway, so yeah, that's obviously a vulnerability, but it's more of a renegade vulnerability. Have you considered any other runes that might do multiple ticks, or is Mad King definitely unsurpassed? I'm not saying I've got any in mind.
I'm pretty sure it's unsurpassed, yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I could think of is the bird summoned by the flock, but that doesn't really do anything. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm a bit disappointed that you aren't running jars of bees. Because those are easy little consumables. You throw them at a target, it does like 2 damage.
A real thing?
Yeah, it ticks them over and over and over again. It's a debuff that puts little tick
I like that
up.
actually. I should try that.
And we'll put Soul Cleaver Summit. And likewise, any other random consumable like that. I'm sure that stuff like Frost Gun would feel pretty OP on this. Basically, anyone can be a flamethrower feeling
but
thing.
honestly, the short bow, even though I originally didn't really like it that much, it's not that bad, especially for Soul Cleaver Summit and just doing lots of hits of things. It's not so bad. It's
another fun thing about Frostbow as well, Frost Gun, by the way, as well, is Abyssal Chill. But I'm not quite sure how they nerfed it after it got totally broken with Reaper, so I guess we'll have to look back at that. But there's lots of consumables that drop rolling AoEs. Isn't there a poison gun that drops a corrosive field that ticks over time? I don't know, maybe these things aren't actually worth the cast just to proc the elite. You could be doing more useful stuff instead. But I think that's interesting. I think the coolest thing actually that you've taught me about this is that short bow auto thing. That's crazy. It's really interesting.
So I mean, just Revenant in general is pretty cool too, because you could build a lot tankier and not worry about your precision as much because of that 33%. So gear's a weird thing for Revenant. You could do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess that's it, though.
Yeah, I think that's all the big stuff. That's all the big stuff. I'm glad that you made this, dude. I'm really glad, because like this just seemed like a match made in heaven.
It is kind of a match made in heaven. Yeah, like the short bow gives bleeding. You got a bunch of things in the line that gives bleeding. Mad King Runes inexplicably gives bleeding as a buff. Gives like plus 35% bleeding duration. It's like, okay,
can I just to be clear here, when you pop the elite, the birds don't get the buff. You get the buff.
You get the buff.
But the bird's attacks count as yours, thus they do the extra damage anyway.
Yeah, just like with the Great Sword.
Yeah, because
powerful
these
greatsword,
birds are like a ranger warhorn, right? They're not actually
Yeah.
entities, are they? They're just attached.
They're
to
like
you.
3 ranger warhorns.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I think I'd confused myself and thought they were actually separate entities from one another.
No.
That makes sense. But then the spirits, despite being separate entities, also get that buff, which is a bit strange.
That for me is very strange. But yes, that is exactly correct.
Okay, interesting. I think you should also get your felines from the Witch's Cauldron thing to fight alongside you. I think you should have chef outfit and sous chefs, and then you have truly created the master build. Very cool boots. Very, very cool.
Well, thank you for joining me, and I will see you later for another build. I gotta be
Any
honest with
teasers
you.
for what you're thinking of next?
No, 0 teasers because all the
Stances got to
builds-
change, didn't they?
Stances
Or
got
Soul Beast,
but I already did Soul Beast.
Well, look, push comes to shove. Get on those boots bad comps, all right? And well up for seeing that.
Okay, well, I guess I will see you later.
See you later, man.
Bye-bye.